Welcome, Raider Nation, to the Red Raider Preview Show. And tonight, we're kicking off the countdown to another season of Red Raider football. Pads are popping, the energy is building, and expectations are high. Last season, we saw grit, growth, and unforgettable moments. And this year, the Red Raiders are ready to take it to the next level. The next half hour, we'll break down the schedule, spotlight our returning playmakers, introduce you to rising stars, and hear directly from the coach about what it will take to make this season one to remember. Coach John Ritter will talk strengths, challenges, and the matchups you'll want to circle on your calendar. And of course, we'll get you inside the huddle with exclusive interviews and analysis. Grab your gear, Red Raider fans. The road to Friday Night Lights starts right here, right now on the Red Raider Preview Show. Now onto the show with John Godwin, Brent Collins, and Coach John Ritter.
Welcome to the Red Raider Preview Show, the 2025 edition, which is going to Coach Ritter's second year, but I'm here with Coach Ritter and Brent Collins. Coach, let's start off by talking about the offseason. How was it? What did you think about your kids and how bought in they are, that sort of thing?
You know, we challenged these guys, the Monday after Athens. We maxed that week, so that would have been October the 25th-ish, and on November the 2nd, we started getting it on, and great off-season. I couldn't ask of any more effort, any more buy-in. Lots of hard work has been put in for the last, 10 months almost, 9 months. We're excited about what we've got right now because of what we've done over the last 9 months.
Well, a lot of it is, I think the kids buying in and being, wanting to do something special this year.
Yeah, and I think it goes down to, I'm big on relationships. And you have to establish a relationship with anybody, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a girl you're trying to date, or a high school kid, for them to trust you. And it took time, and it took, almost February to really about October, November for them to trust who we were and what we're about and what we're preaching. And, once those relationships got formed, the work ethic changed, and the accountability changed, the buy-in changed, the attitudes changed, the give a crap changed,
right.
And I think it was a complete 180 by all of our guys, and I'm very excited about that. And that part just takes time, and that's the part about year one that's not fun. The seniors are only going to do so much before they kind of check out, and this group of seniors will go further before they check out, and hopefully it's a couple rounds deep in the playoffs before we check out.
Really?
Which would mean they get their picture on the wall, right? Yeah. That's the tradition. You win 7 games, seniors get their picture on the wall. You know about that tradition. Oh, shut up. So in relation to what we're talking about, the culture you're bringing in, I mean, through talking with the seniors and doing senior spotlights and hearing some things they talked about that's important to them, they talk about a bunch of PR, personal record, right? I mean, in the weight room. They're getting the work done. I mean, I came in here one day during the summer, and, man, you guys were getting after it, okay? I don't know if I was supposed to be there. I came in unannounced, but you didn't kick me out, so I thought, well, why don't I see what's going on here? But they're taking pride in getting stronger, and that's better in the team. It's better in themselves personally. So what, as far as that philosophy, I mean, how is that ingrained? Is that ingrained? We've got a new weight room coach. Does that come from the top from you? Does that come from all the assistants?
No, I mean, that started back in November. Coach Sasser got here in June and brought a different element, brought a different set of eyes, brought a different point of view to what we were doing. But really the only thing that's changed is there's a different guy putting the stuff in the computer. There's a different guy blowing the whistle. Our philosophy is what it is, and Coach Sasser fits into that philosophy. A lot of the things that you're talking about, that's a part of our culture. I'm not going to tell a kid to shy away from wanting things for themselves. Personal records, whether it's yardage, whether it's weight room, whether it's all state, that's great. You should want that. But they have to understand in order to get those things, it takes a team effort, and, we're never going to discourage a kid from wanting to get what they need to be successful and wanting those things. But those things are really driven by the team, because you can want to be all state all day long, but if your team's not very good, it's going to be hard, so you've got to use your personal stuff as motivation to be a great teammate, as a motivation to be a leader, as a motivation to bring up everybody one step higher, whether it's weight room, whether it's practice, whether it's whatever, because in order for you to be successful, they have to be successful. And, those are things that's probably changed in 15 years. We preach team. But, along the way, I realized, it's about player experience, number one. Number two, we want those guys to have those aspirations, because if they do, they have to understand how they reach their personal goals. And, we had a lot of PRs in the weight room because of their work ethic. And those are going to lead to personal records on the football field.
Well, Coach, let me ask you this: what's the key, or what makes year 2 kind of a special thing?
Oh, I think it's relationships.
Back to that relationship.
I think it's expectations. They know my expectations for them, because it's something that we preach every day. We want each person, each athlete to be the best they can be. And that's one thing that I harp on. Our coaches coach all our guys, whether they're the best corner or the number 10 corner. It doesn't matter. Whether they're the first offensive lineman or the 15th, doesn't matter. The expectations for them to be coached are the same. Now, the standards change because obviously skill levels change. We can't expect our 10th corner to be a 4.6 40, but we do expect him to be the best he can be. Right. If that's a 5.2, hey, go be a 5.2 every snap. In year 2 really harps on that piece, because they understand what we want. We want them to be perfect. We want them to be perfect in the classroom, to be perfect in the weight room, in the meeting room, in the practice field. And what does perfection look like? Perfection is not messing up. Perfection is maximizing your ability. And whether that's, if you're a guard, perfection for you is A, a good stance, B, is coming off the ball, and C is executing your assignment. And it takes all those things to be successful. And so that's what year 2 is about. It's about understanding what the expectations are for me as a player. And, you do that through A, those relationships, and B, we set the standard every day with what we do.
I stress this in my own business, but you talk about ownership and accountability of the responsibility for, if you've got a goal in mind, how are you going to reach that? I mean, are you putting goals around in the field house we're talking about, were tangible goals that you're trying to reach, and the guys are focused on that, and knowing their personal responsibility to get you there? Because you coach, it's your job to prepare them, but they got to go on the field and execute, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In the weight room, we've got goals, 225 on power clean. We want to have a bunch of 200 benchers. We want to have a bunch of 225 benchers. Same thing with squat. We want to have a bunch of guys at 375 and up. And obviously the more we have over 425, 450, the more successful we're going to be. And same thing with power clean. Power clean is something that we stress, the most as far as our goal oriented, because if you can power clean 225, you can play football. And we've got, I think when we got here, we had about 3 or 4, and right now we're sitting at 30, about 38 with another 15 to 20 that are close, so we're looking at almost 50%, after year 1. And that goes because of the emphasis that we do put on it. Same thing when you walk in our field house, there's offensive goals, there's defensive goals, there's special team goals, and then there's team goals, and all those fit together. The more goals we can reach on a Friday night, the more, the probability of winning goes up.
Well, let's talk specifics about our team this year, like a little bit about the senior class, what we're doing offensively, defensively, special team.
Yeah, senior class is
not a big class.
Not a big, for 6A. We've got 16 guys. But it's a quality class. Harris Finley, Caden Oliver, Caden Watkins, Isaiah Sharpley, are the four that have kind of represented us at media days. But all of our guys, they all understand their role, whether that's offense, defense, it may be special teams, it may be a rotator, it may be a backup, it may be a guy that may not ever see a down, but they are an integral part of what we're doing Monday through Thursday. And that's the beautiful thing I think that we've got right now going for us is they're providing leadership by example. Whatever their role is, they're going out and they're doing that every day. And something that we talk about our regular is they've got to lead, they've got to follow, or they got to get out of the way. And, you got to be in one of the first two categories to be successful. If we have a bunch of guys that are not willing to lead, that's okay. They got to follow the right leaders. And if they're not willing to follow, then they got to go do something else because they can't help us be successful. They can't help our seniors get to where they want to go. And, they're going to be a problem.
What about offense, defense?
Offensively.
We're going to be doing the same stuff?
No. I think we got a different skill set of guys this year. Also, it's year two of kind of what my philosophy is. We've always been a gap schemed RPO team, and that's really what we've kind of got back to and settled into. And defensively, it's going to be helter skelter, and we're going to come get you. And Coach Styles, comes in year one, taking over for Coach Massey, who got the GW Long job, head coaching job there. And so, it's a different philosophy from him, but, our job's to stop people. And then offensively, our job's to score.
As far as coaching, we got to see that on full display a couple weeks ago. And we talk about the traditions of Decatur High football, but your coaching tree, you talk about Massey being able to move on to take over a program. I mean, everybody in coaching, for the most part, I guess their goal would be to become a head coach. So what I have seen you do a very effective job of is bringing in high-quality assistant coaches. And then when one goes away, like Massey, you get one backfilled in Styles, like you just said. Talk to some of those coaching changes. I know it's important to have the Derek Blackburns of the world that's been with you for 20 years, but is that right? 20? Not quite 20 years?
I don't have 20 years. It's
15?
3, 6, 9, 10.
Okay,
10
years.
years.
Sorry, I got you in that. Your
I'm
dad.
making him older.
It'd be hard if it was 20. I'd be close to retirement.
There you go. But talk about those coaching changes and how they come in and bring their philosophy that merges with your philosophy.
Yeah, for 12 years as being a head coach, I've always challenged myself to get the best assistants I can get. It's not an ego thing with me. I want people that know more than I do. I want to be the engine of effort and accountability. I don't want to be the engine of knowledge. And so, everywhere I've been, I've had great staffs. Year one, it's always a learning phase. And then year two, there's usually some changes made. And, we made some changes year two. We were able to bring in Coach Styles, been at Madison Academy for the last 10 or 12 years, been a head coach, was at Hartselle for years, a really, really good football coach, a high-quality guy. We brought in Brian Dickerson. He was the former head coach at Sheffield, and for the last 3 years, he's been the offense coordinator at Prattville. We were able to bring back Riley Adcock. Riley's been an offense coordinator at Decatur. He's been an offense coordinator at West Morgan and was at James Clemens last year. We moved up Noah Armstrong from our middle school staff because he did an excellent job, has a lot of background in varsity O-line. So that was a natural, progression for us. Trying to think if that's it. We made a couple of changes. We did swap over Coach Blackburn to defense. We swapped over Coach Moon to defense. And, we brought in Griffin McCullough. That's right. We got a guy that's working with our kickers now. And you can see the progression that they've made just since the summer, having a guy that's dedicated to them, but also knows how to coach kicking. So I think that's super important. But the main factor in all those guys, they're high-quality guys. They're real. They're men of character. They're going to push our young men to be great players, but they're also going to push our young men to be great people. And to me, that's probably more important than being a great player, because you can be a really good player, and if you're not a good citizen, it's kind of all for naught.
Well, that's all great. It's game week, right?
Yeah. What about, we did play Buckhorn, and I know that it's doing thousands of different things, but have you been able to prepare for them or know what's coming or anything about Buckhorn?
Oh, absolutely. And that's
Who's your head coach?
David Green. This is year one.
You know him?
Know of him. We talked before.
So it's year one for him.
Year one for him, and they've got a whole new staff. I think they replaced, I would guess 75 to 80% of their staff is brand new. So they're going to go through the growing pains just like we went through. Hopefully they got some growing pains early on.
Especially Friday night.
Yeah, but very talented. They've got some guys back that played last year that are really, really good players. They got some guys. I know the quarterback, the Turley kid, was a backup or kind of a rotator early on last year. Really good player. So it's going. Who do we play that's not good?
Oh, you're really.
It's one of those things where we got to bring it every week, and that's the great thing about being in 6A. And that was the challenge that I wanted to take home. Is I wanted to play great people every week, and we come out of the gate hot with a really good team.
Well, that I know from last year. Seems like last year the game was within reach for us, and hopefully this year we're going to be able to capture those games.
Yeah, we talked yesterday. We had 6 turnovers. We had 5 red zone appearances and had 1 touchdown.
Right.
So if we don't turn the ball over 6 times, we only lost by 14. So take your pick. We don't turn the ball over 6 times, or we score
when we're
supposed to, and then it's a different game. But here again, that's part of the growth that we talked about. And number one goal for us offensively this year is no turnovers. If we don't have turnovers, we're going to give us a chance. Number 2 goal is we got to be 80% in the red zone. So 3 out of 5 is our goal. If we can get there 5 times, and then obviously we need 4 or 5 big plays. We're going to take about 10 shots a game in every game that we play. We need to be 4 out of 8, 5 out of 10. We need to be 50% on shot plays. And we were 0 for 9 last year on shot.
Well, and I tell you, a lot of times you don't want to look back, but if you do take a peek in the rearview mirror from last year, I mean, we had a handful of games that could have gone our way very easily if we hadn't have done something.
Yeah,
you go shoot ourselves in the foot.
Buckhorn, you go to Jemison. We go down to score, 4 minutes to go in the game. We've got all the momentum. We give up kickoff return.
Right.
You win those 2 games, you're 4 and 6. The next thing you're 5 and 5, 6 and 4. And that's the margin for error that we have to understand is so small. When you're a Decatur, any normal football team, Russellville for 6 years, we had a couple good players every year, but we made a real living on average football players that played above average.
Yes.
And, we've done that at West Morgan. We did that at Red Bay.
You're going to do it here.
Sounds familiar.
We got to the last 100 years of Decatur football has been the same thing. And that's what we've got to get back to is being solid. We don't have to be great.
Right.
At every position. We got to be solid at every position. And then when you start sprinkling in great players, then you do great things.
Right. All right, this is our closest thing to a mystery question.
Yeah, so I referenced it earlier, talking about the coaching tree. Obviously, I came through on the tail end of Coach Rivers, and you got to actually see a reunion we had 2 weeks ago, Berry Country Club for the 1993 undefeated the Red Raider. Of course, I was a measly sophomore, relegated to water boy duties on the sideline. But I tell you, that brings back so many memories. Mark Woody did a really good job putting that group together. But I look behind us, just talk about goals, individual goals. 1993, you had Ezra Trayball, You had Willie Pointer, Savon Guard, Ty Kennerly, John Crater. I tell you, but to hear those guys speak and the love they have for their coach, not just their head coach, their assistant coach, and the emphasis you place on building them a character and looking beyond just the game of football. How did that just bring it all home to you? How was that? I'm getting chills on the back of my neck thinking about taking me back 32 years. But what did that mean to you, that experience?
Yeah, it solidified everything that I've thought for the last 17 and a half years. And that's, I love sports. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love soccer, softball. I love every sport there is. But football is different. Football is hard. And football creates bonds between people that are so much stronger than any other sport, because you can go play pickup basketball today. You can go play sandlot baseball today. How many guys are going to put on, how many 22 guys are going to put on stuff and go run into each other? Very few, none. So those are bonds that are created in a once in a lifetime opportunity type environment. And, that's why we're here. That should be why you play. That should be why you coach, is to create bonds that'll last a lifetime. Because, I go back to my own. I've been out of school since 2003, so 22 years. I can tell you what happened on the third play of Lexington my senior year. I can tell you what happened the homecoming game.
So can the guys that were playing with you, and
Absolutely.
that makes it special.
And when we have reunions, that's the first thing that we talk about. Now, we end up talking about those other things because they were important in our life at that time. But the first thing that everybody talks about is football, whether you played or not, and being at that reunion just solidified that fact, because that was a lot more than 20 years ago. And the stories that were told and seeing, all those guys that the coaching tree, Coach Godsey, Coach Creasy, Coach Rivers, Lee Cagle, all those guys, Coach Ward, guys that were synonymous with not only Decatur football, but great football. Coach Creasy at Athens, Coach Godsey at Hartsville, now in Madison Academy.
Yeah, you have to put Coach Rivers in there, because Coach Rivers was your head coach, but he was my position coach. And he tags in with Coach Webb, brings that.
Well, that's the whole lineage that when Coach Ritter was hired at Decatur, I think it brought back some.
You talking about old man Coach Ritter.
Old man Coach Ritter.
You talking about this one too.
He was on the sidelines as a
Oh,
with,
my God.
with Philip Rivers. He might have.
Just a little kid.
He might have outdueled Philip Rivers.
No, that's a negative. He went pro for a reason.
Yeah. And I think he's got a son coming up that's going to be pretty highly talented.
He's very good. He's got about 17 kids over here.
He will have his own football team.
He is.
But and Coach Rivers, I think, has got his hands full. I saw him years ago at Home Depot, and he said he's relegated himself to being Philip's schoolboy. So he's going down there to help raise the kids. He's actually on the staff, just like Ronnie's involved with you. I think
he's right.
He's not on staff, but he's on the sideline Friday night.
Well, it was cool to me. Last Tuesday, Coach Rivers came to practice, and some people are intimidated by that. I was mad that he waited a year to come to practice, and the first thing that we asked is what do you think? And you don't want my opinion. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I sure do. That's why I asked, and him and my dad talked for an hour, during practice, and seeing a guy that has such an impact on this town and this program to come back and invest, just a little bit of his time, that means a lot. I made sure our kids knew who he was, and he didn't want any recognition, didn't want to speak to the team. He just wanted to be there. But I made sure our guys knew, that's Coach Rivers. You better do what you're supposed to do, even greater than normal, because that dude's standing over there.
One of the things that going back to Union and what I heard a lot of great things, but when Savon Guard got up there, and he's a weight heavy lifting builder, or whatever.
He still looks like he can play.
Yeah, he doesn't.
You don't think Brent can play?
Not against that dude.
And he didn't look at the face. He looked, yeah, whatever. Okay. But anyway, Zavon and what he said just resonated with me. And if I'm Coach Rivers, if I'm any of the assistant coaches, I don't hear what he says. What they did 32 years ago and for their entire career has changed the course of the world. I mean, it's going around the world with Zavon and Ezra, all those guys. I mean, you're making and changing the way you go about life is you draw that on your experience, and that was really cool to see. But keeping it light toward the end. I think we're good on time. Yeah. So I know we had a big day yesterday, Brian. Lincoln.
Oh yeah.
All right. So you're coach all week at Decatur, and I think you maybe gotten roped into coaching their team.
I'm the assistant AU coach for the Bills.
So how do you turn the switch on for being what you are here and then being dad when you're?
I think I'm a very poor switch turner. Now, you know, I'm hard on him. I think I'm pretty good to them other kids, but you know, it's been fun. You know, last year I kind of sat with Lauren and Lily and my mom and dad and mother-in-law and just watched. And, you know, this year he kind of said, "Hey, I want you to help." And I was like, all right, if that's what you want. I think he may be regretting it now, but no, it was good. It was, you know, it's a different deal, obviously, because it's flag and it's 8U, but it's fun to be dad sometimes. And, you know, especially right now, it's so crazy and chaotic. You know, we're up here till 10 o'clock last night. So leave, go to his game, come back till 10 doing clothes and everything else. It didn't go well because we got beat pretty good, but it was fun watching him and watching him compete and watching him be a good teammate. You know, that's probably what I like more. You know, he's a hardworking kid, but I think he's a pretty good teammate too, and that's what makes me most proud as dad and coach.
Well, Coach,
well, she was doing homework on the side, so I'm not sure let's share it. She did.
well, it starts again. Year number 2, Friday night, Buckhorn. So if you can't come out to the game, you can watch us wherever we're going to be.
We'll put a link on the Facebook about where we're going to be.
Well, where we'll be, but Friday night, Buckhorn here at Oval Stadium. Red Raiders are going to get the first victory of 2025 on the way to get to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
All
Go
right.
Raiders.
You've been listening to the Red Raider Preview Show.
It's a great day.
It's a great day to be a Red Raider.